When you picture Jesus, what image comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's probably, well, it's often this vision of effortless power, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. The sort of Superman in sandals
Yeah,
idea.
exactly. Untouchable, just kind of willing miracles into existence. Like, Abraham calls it God cosplaying a human, just strolling around dropping wonders like party favors.
Because he could, right. That's
Yeah.
the underlying assumption. Power operating totally independently.
But what if I told you there was this day, a really profound, humanizing day, when that same figure met, well, not all, but heckling, skepticism, outright rejection?
To the point where his power, that incredible power, was almost shut down, limited.
Precisely. And that's what we're getting into today. We're doing a deep dive into this powerful piece by Chris Abraham called The Day Jesus Got Heckled Out of His Hometown.
Okay.
And our mission really is to unpack the surprising vulnerability of Jesus that, the Gospels actually reveal when you really listen.
So looking beyond maybe the surface reading or the popular image.
Right. We want to explore his humanity, the role belief, or, crucially, the lack of it plays, and how these relational dynamics really challenge some big assumptions about divine power, about resilience.
And it's fascinating how Abraham himself came to this. You mentioned he held that conventional image for decades, like many people.
55 years, he says.
Wow. And it was this specific practice, really listening to the Gospels daily, using the Hallow app.
Yeah.
That's what shifted things for him.
Yeah, it shows how digging into the source material directly, that immersive engagement, can just fundamentally change your understanding, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Moving past those inherited ideas to something maybe more
Yeah.
nuanced,
But,
more real.
and you might be listening and thinking, okay, ancient story, bit of theology, why does this matter to me?
Sure, it sounds a bit abstract.
But the insights here, they're surprisingly practical. How environments affect even, the most powerful individuals. This two-way street of influence, finding strength and vulnerability.
You'll probably see parallels everywhere. In your job, maybe relationships, or just trying to understand how belief and support actually shape what happens.
It goes way beyond just ancient texts. There's real wisdom here for living, really.
Okay, so where do we start? With that popular image Abraham had.
Yeah, let's start there, because to see the shift, we need to understand the starting point, right?
Yes.
So Abraham says for 55 years, his view was shaped by what he calls pop Catholicism, cultural shorthand, and the occasional Easter homily.
Right, the sort of background radiation of belief, maybe not necessarily deep study.
Exactly. And he describes this popular image, it's quite vivid, assembled from Christmas pageants, stained glass windows, and movies where Jesus looks like, a glowing Englishman who never breaks a sweat.
Slight chuckle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that image. Perfectly serene, untouched by anything.
Untouchable, that's the word he uses, like Superman in sandals. Just absolute unshakable power.
And the core belief behind that image.
He says it was that Jesus floated above humanity. Like, he was just God cosplaying a human, dropping miracles casually because, well, he could.
Which implies total independence from us, from human reactions, from the environment. He just does.
Right. He acts upon the world, not really with it in that view. It's powerful, maybe comforting in a way, but also
Distant. Less relatable.
Yeah, exactly. If he's never affected, never vulnerable, how does his experience connect with ours?
And that's the key, isn't it? How that popular image, maybe unintentionally, strips away the very humanity the Gospels often emphasize in perhaps less famous passages. It sets up this barrier. If he's always impervious, never impacted, then his struggles, if you can call them that, don't seem like our struggles.
It makes him less accessible, maybe paradoxically less helpful in the day-to-day.
It really limits how we see divine power interacting with, well, the messiness of real life.
So this distant, almost mythic Jesus that started to dissolve for Abraham, when did the change begin?
It started when he began really listening to the Gospels, not just reading, but listening.
Through that Hallow app practice he mentioned.
Right. He describes it as pretty immersive. Headphones on, letting the daily Gospel reading wash over him, listening to the same reading 4 times.
4 times, wow, that's dedication.
Yes, stopping, rewinding, thinking about it all day, then maybe listening to a homily or reflection on it. It wasn't passive.
And the result?
He says, slowly, almost accidentally, the Jesus I thought I knew from Catholic pop culture began to dissolve. The Jesus he met in the readings was different.
How so?
Much more human, much more relational, and much more vulnerable. It wasn't intellectual. It was an encounter with the source text itself.
Which really highlights something important, doesn't it?
Definitely. That true understanding, that kind of transformative insight, often comes from that deep, reflective engagement with the primary sources, not just relying on summaries or cultural ideas.
Moving from just receiving information to actively exploring it, letting the text challenge you.
Exactly. Because what we think we know, based on hearsay or tradition, can be quite different from what's actually there when we look closely.
It's like recalibrating your understanding based on the original signal, not the echoes.
Well put. It opens up insights that you just don't get from a surface glance.
So, was there one specific moment in this listening process that really stood out for Abraham? The one that, as he put it, broke him open?
Yes. And it wasn't the feeding of the 5,000 or walking on water. It was something much smaller scale, but maybe more profound in its implication.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It happened in Jesus' own hometown synagogue, in Nazareth.
Back where he grew up.
Precisely. And this is where that whole Superman in sandals image just completely fell apart for him.
Okay, so what exactly happened in Nazareth according to the Gospels? Because there are a few accounts, right?
There are. Matthew, Mark, and Luke all cover it with slightly different details and emphasis. But that's what's interesting. How do these different accounts actually work together?
Do they paint a consistent picture despite the variations?
They really do. When you look at them together, you get this undeniable, powerful picture of rejection and its surprising consequences for Jesus' ministry there.
Okay, let's break that down. Maybe start with Matthew's version.
Sure. Matthew 13. Jesus teaches in the synagogue. And initially, people are amazed. They recognize his wisdom, his power.
So a positive start.
For a moment. But it flips almost instantly. Amazement turns to offense. Familiarity breeds contempt,
Right.
They start asking, where did this man get this wisdom and these miraculous powers? Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother's name Mary? Aren't his brothers and sisters with us?
Basically, he's just one of us. Who does he think he is?
Exactly. They couldn't square the local boy they knew with the figure standing before them. Matthew says, and they took offense at him.
And Jesus' response.
That's when he gives that famous line, a prophet is not without honor except in his own town and in his own home.
Acknowledging the rejection.
Yes. And then Matthew gives the consequence. And notice the wording. And he did not do many miracles there because of their lack of faith.
Not no miracles, but many. So a significant limitation.
Right. The environment wasn't right. Now, compare that to Mark's account, Mark 6.
How does Mark put it?
Mark is even more blunt, more direct. He says he could not do any miracles there except lay his hands on a few sick people and heal them.
He could not. That's a strong statement.
It really is. And Abraham says this phrasing stunned him. Could not. It suggests a genuine limitation, not because Jesus lacked power inherently, but because the conditions weren't met.
The disbelief was like a barrier.
Seemingly so. Mark adds, he was amazed at their lack of faith. Even Jesus found their level of unresponsiveness remarkable.
Wow. So it wasn't just that he chose not to, but that he actually couldn't in that atmosphere.
That's what Mark's language strongly implies. It really challenges that idea of miracles just happening automatically, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And Luke, does Luke add anything different?
Luke chapter 4 goes even further in describing the hostility. As Abraham puts it, Luke goes for the jugular.
How so?
After Jesus speaks, implying God's favor isn't exclusive to them, Luke says, all the people in the synagogue were furious. They got up, drove him out of the town, and took him to the brow of the hill in order to throw him off the cliff.
Good grief. They wanted to kill him.
Yes, it wasn't just skepticism or heckling. It was murderous rage from his own hometown crowd.
So putting it all together, initial amazement, then offense rooted in familiarity, skepticism, outright hostility, and this limitation on his power to perform miracles there.
Exactly. A consistent picture emerges.
Yeah.
Profound rejection leading to a near shutdown of his usual miraculous activity in that specific place among those specific people.
And this is where it gets really interesting for Abraham, right? Because this isn't the triumphant Jesus.
Not at all. This isn't walking on water or feeding the multitude or raising Lazarus. This is Jesus, the Son of God, in his childhood synagogue, being heckled, rejected by people he grew up with.
People who knew him as Joseph and Mary's boy.
The men he might have worked alongside in the carpenter shop, the women who watched him grow up. It's incredibly intimate.
And instead of awe, they gave him mockery, contempt.
Who does this guy think he is?
Yeah.
That's the vibe. Deep familiarity breeding disbelief, not reverence.
And the core stunner, the part that hit Abraham, in the face of that disbelief, he could do almost no miracles there.
Right. Even though he knew who he was, the Messiah, even with all his divine identity and purpose, That faithless atmosphere, the cynicism, it shut down what Abraham calls the miracle field.
He healed a few sick people, Mark says. Maybe out of compassion for the few who were open.
Perhaps. But the overall effect was a dramatic reduction. He didn't push it. He essentially left. The environment limited the expression of his power.
Which forces a total recalibration of what we mean by power, especially divine power.
Exactly. It suggests it's not this unstoppable independent force that just steamrolls everything. It seems to operate relationally, meaning it involves the recipients. Their receptivity, their faith, or lack thereof plays an active role. It challenges that whole idea of miracles being just a one-way street, God imposing something regardless of us.
So it's not a lack in Jesus' ability, but something about how that power interacts with us.
That seems to be the implication. It sets up this dynamic where human response matters profoundly. It's less about God acting on passive subjects and more about God seeking to partner with active, believing participants.
That's a very different picture from Superman.
Absolutely. And Abraham goes right back to that analogy to make the point crystal clear.
How does he contrast them?
Well, Superman doesn't need anybody, right? He gets his power from the fun. External constant makes him invincible.
Takes a bullet to the eye and smirks?
Exactly. People on Earth can't add to or take away from his strength. He might love humanity, but he doesn't need them to be Superman. His power is totally self-sufficient.
Okay, but
Jesus isn't like that. Abraham is emphatic. Jesus isn't like that. Jesus doesn't bulldoze over disbelief. He doesn't dominate rooms that don't welcome him. He doesn't force miracles where hearts are closed.
He doesn't coerce. He invites.
Precisely. He operates through relationship, invitation, collaboration. He respects human freedom, human receptivity, even when it closes the door to his power.
And Abraham argues this isn't weakness.
No, and this is crucial. He says this is how divine power works. It flows where faith creates space. It's inherently relational. It's about partnership, not unilateral force.
So understanding this moves us beyond just thinking of omnipotence as brute strength.
Yes, it reveals a kind of divine power that respects our agency, that seeks collaboration, a power that chooses to operate within parameters that honor our choice.
Now, what was it about this specific incident, beyond the limitation of power, that hit Abraham so hard?
It was the fact that Jesus knew who he was in that moment.
He wasn't having a crisis of identity.
Not at all. Abraham stresses this. He knew he was the Messiah, fulfilling prophecy. He knew he was the Son of God. He knew the Father was with him. He knew he could call down angels if he wanted to. He had complete self-knowledge, divine authority.
And yet
the insults, the smirks, the disbelief from his hometown crowd, it hurt. It hurt enough that he left.
that's the painfully human part.
It really is. If Jesus, knowing everything he knew, possessing all that power, could still be wounded by rejection from people he grew up with, well, what does that say about us?
That vulnerability isn't failure.
Exactly. It's the cost of being alive, of being in a relationship. It's essential to connection. It suggests true strength isn't being invulnerable, but having the courage to feel, to be affected, and keep going.
But Abraham is careful to say he wasn't fragile, right? Vulnerable, yes. Fragile,
A
no.
really important distinction. He was resilient. He didn't crumble. He didn't stay there and plead with them.
We're trying to force them to believe by doing some overwhelming miracle just to prove a point.
No, that wasn't his way. It wasn't about domination. What he did do was walk away,
Conserving his energy.
strategically saving his power, his focus, for people who would receive it, for environments where faith could meet his grace halfway. It's a lesson in discernment, really.
Knowing where to invest your energy.
Yes. And this extended to his disciples, too. They weren't just passive students.
How does Abraham describe them?
As his batteries, his crew, his believers, they actively fed his mission with their loyalty, their trust, their faith. They created that fertile ground.
And in return?
He poured power into them, gave them authority to heal, cast out demons, preach. He wasn't hoarding his power. He was sharing it, multiplying it through relationship.
A collaborative model, not top-down.
Exactly. Which, if you think about it, offers this powerful lesson for leadership, for making an impact anywhere.
How so?
It's about recognizing where to invest your energy, understanding that real power, real influence, gets amplified through these reciprocal relationships, through shared belief. It's not a solo act.
You need that supportive ecosystem.
Absolutely. Whether it's a business venture, a creative project, a community initiative, or a divine mission. The environment, the belief of those involved, it matters hugely.
Okay, so the Nazareth incident reveals this relational aspect of power and vulnerability. What else did Abraham find significant in his deeper listening?
He also emphasized something often overlooked, the preparation before Jesus' public ministry.
The so-called hidden years.
Exactly. Pop culture often makes it seem like he just burst onto the scene at 30, fully formed, ready to do miracles, like flipping a switch.
But that's not the reality.
No. Abraham points out Jesus spent decades preparing, studying, traveling, praying, learning Torah, mastering humility.
So he wasn't just waiting around.
Far from it. Learning Torah, for instance, was rigorous. Deep study, interpretation, likely within a community. Mastering humility, that's an active, ongoing process.
So by the time he performs his first public miracle at Cana,
He was already, as Abraham says, a serious rabbi with deep grounding in Scripture. Those 30 hidden years are crucial. They show his power wasn't cheap or effortless.
it was honed, developed.
Yes, through obedience, study, discipline, waiting, even for the Son of God. This period of formation was essential.
Which raises a fascinating question about mastery and influence in general, doesn't it?
It really does. Even with divine empowerment, profound preparation was key. It underlines that true capacity, even genius, is refined through diligent, often unseen work.
It challenges that myth of effortless achievement. Real impact usually comes from deep, sustained effort and preparation.
Exactly. It's a principle that applies everywhere. Significant impact requires that foundational work.
And all of this, the Nazareth incident, the hidden years, it changed how Abraham viewed faith itself.
Profoundly. He realized faith isn't passive. It's not like just sitting in a chair waiting.
It's active.
Yes, faith is active. It creates the atmosphere, the environment, where God's power, or maybe any potential, can actually move and manifest.
Like in Nazareth, the lack of faith created the wrong atmosphere.
Precisely. No faith, only cynicism, hostility. And the miracles dried up. It wasn't hospitable ground, like trying to grow plants in concrete.
So faith isn't about impressing God.
No, it's about aligning with God, creating that open channel, that receptive space so his power can flow. It's a two-way street.
A relationship.
Exactly. Jesus gives, we believe and receive, and the miracle happens in that interaction in the middle. Without that active participation, even God in flesh chose not to act fully.
Our belief isn't just internal then, it's almost co-creative.
That's a great way to put it. It's a vital part of the partnership. Our receptivity, our belief, actively participates in what can manifest.
Which elevates our role from just spectators to active participants.
It moves faith from just an idea in our heads to this dynamic, reality-shaping force. It's energetic.
Okay, so bringing this all together, what are the practical implications for the listener? How does this translate to everyday life?
Well, Abraham draws a really direct, quite challenging parallel.
Which is?
If the disbelief of his own hometown could actually hobble the Messiah, limiting his power, then how can we possibly expect to thrive if we surround ourselves with negativity?
With people or environments or even our own thoughts that drain our belief. Belief in ourselves, our goals, what's possible.
Exactly. The Nazareth scene becomes more than a story. It's a stark warning.
About the Nazareth effect in our own lives.
Precisely. It urges us to be conscious of who and what we allow into our inner circle, to stay close to those who feed our spirit, who believe in us, who charge the atmosphere with hope.
Because Jesus needed that, and so do we.
Think about launching an idea at work and hitting that wall of skepticism, or sharing a dream with friends and getting doubt back. It has a real, tangible effect.
It's not just emotional support, it's almost energetic, creating our own personal miracle fields.
That's a powerful way to think about it. Cultivating environments where potential can actually flourish.
And Abraham wonders why this Nazareth story isn't more prominent in popular culture, right?
Yeah, he expresses genuine surprise. Why isn't this seen everywhere?
His conclusion.
It's too raw. It's easier, more comfortable to keep Jesus as the distant superhero or the serene saint floating above it all.
It avoids grappling with the messy reality of his humanity, and maybe our own.
Right. But the Gospels, Abraham argues, don't let us off the hook. They show a Messiah who feels rejection, who bleeds emotionally, who walks away from closed hearts, who chooses relationship over force.
And that's the Jesus Abraham wanted to share.
Yes. He says he wrote, not to preach, not to deconstruct, but to share the Jesus I've been meeting. The one who crumpled under the slings and arrows of his friends and kept walking anyway. The one whose power is never over us, but with us.
A Jesus who is profoundly relatable because of his vulnerability.
Exactly. And connecting this all back, it really does transform how we might think about faith.
Moving it beyond just a personal, internal thing.
Yes, to something with tangible external effects. Something that helps create an energetic field, positive or negative. Our belief, individually and collectively, shapes the environment.
Which really makes you pause and consider the environments you create, doesn't it? The people you surround yourself with.
Absolutely. It's a powerful reminder of how vital, supportive, faith-filled connections are for reaching any kind of potential. It's about tending to your own power grid.
That ecosystem of belief and support.
Does it fuel you or drain you?
So, as we wrap up, maybe a final thought for people to reflect on this week?
Well, building on Abraham's core insight, if even the Son of God seemed to need believers around him for his power to manifest fully in a place like Nazareth,
Yeah.
then maybe faith isn't just about what we think in isolation. Maybe it really is this interconnected power grid that lights everything up. Maybe that's the often missed miracle.
And maybe he's still walking into rooms, into our lives, our projects.
Looking for faith to meet him halfway.
That's a powerful thought to leave with. Where are you, the listener, creating space for belief to meet you halfway? What miracles, big or small, might be waiting to be lit up in your own life's power grid?
It's definitely something to ponder.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive today. We really unpacked Chris Abraham's article and uncovered this very human, vulnerable side of Jesus that challenges that common image.
And saw how Nazareth powerfully shows that even divine power seems to work relationally, amplified by belief and connection.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep making those surprising connections.